Are the Church of the Larger Fellowship, a Unitarian Universalist congregation with no geographical boundaries. We believe in cultivating curiosity and transformation that is rooted in profound love. The COVID-19 pandemic has irrevocably shaped how connections are formed in congregations across the United States and the world. The Church of the Larger Fellowship is committed to being a resource within Unitarian Universalism and beyond. From worship to covenant groups, from classes to pastoral care, and from our monthly magazine Quest to our online community hub and our letter writing ministry. We have found ways to build connection and community, even through the screen. We have been a model for ministry on the margins, providing services for isolated Unitarian Universalists, becoming a spiritual lifeline for our members in prison. The CLF supports the ministries of those who hold target identities: Blue, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism; Trust, Transgender Religious UU Professionals Together; and Drum, Diverse Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries, just to name a few. We know better than anyone how deep and meaningful connections can be formed, even from a distance. Unitarian Universalists have faced many challenges in these times, and we continue to persevere and fight for justice and equity for all people, especially during moments of crisis. We are proud to be a leader in this faith movement, and we invite you to get involved in our ministry. We strive to be a place where anyone from anywhere can find spiritual refuge anytime they need it. Welcome to the Church of the Larger Fellowship. We are so excited to bring you an all-new episode of The VUU. The VUU is a weekly Unitarian Universalist talk show discussing important faith-based topics from an anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and multicultural perspective. Every Thursday for the past 7 years, we have welcomed guests from every corner of the world. Our guests are writers, scholars, activists, and religious thought leaders who are shaping Unitarian Universalism and society for the 21st century and beyond. I hope today's show inspires you. Hope it builds your faith. Hope it gives you perspective to see the power of Unitarian Universalism at work in your life. Enjoy the message.
DC, you're muted.
Hello, everybody. I am. I was muted. Greetings, everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I am the Reverend DC Fortune, and I am the leadoff host, which seems like a really tactical error on somebody's part. But here we are. We'd like to welcome you to the VUU. This is episode 422 of the Voices of Unitarian Universalism, which is a production of the Church of the Larger Fellowship. And I am the leadoff host. We have got such a fun show today. And perhaps that's why they're having me do this. But first, let's just check in. I am coming to you from the cloudy sort of, it looks more like November than almost April out there, but whatever. In Northumberland, Pennsylvania, on the banks of the Susquehanna River, ancestral home of the Susquehannock people, and the place, the final resting place of Joseph Priestley, who lived out his days here. So I'm going to hand it off to Aisha now. How are you doing out there on the left coast?
Hi, yeah, I'm Aisha Hauser. I am on the land of the Coast Salish people, also known as Seattle, Washington, and it has been cold and rainy, although I live in a neighborhood that has a lot of cherry blossom trees. And when it has been sunny the last couple of days before today, they are just stunning, and it just smells like cotton candy on trees. And I'm really blessed that I get to walk my dog beneath a canopy of pink and beautiful cherry blossoms. And they actually smell they have a scent that's very subtle, but very, at least the ones I walk by, and it could be something else, but I am attributing that beautiful kind of very, very gentle scent to the cherry blossoms. And that's me. And Michael.
Greetings all, Michael Tino joining you from Peekskill, New York, the land of the Kitchewan and Wappinger people, about 40 miles north of New York City. And it's cold and rainy here, but it's spring. The hyacinths has started blooming in the front yard. So the parade of scent has begun in my yard. It starts with the hyacinths and moves on to lilacs and lilies of the valley and roses and peonies. And things will smell gorgeous in my garden for at least the next 2 months. So, and I'm doing okay. It's I don't even know what day it is. I'm glad I remembered it's Thursday, and that's the kind of space I'm in. I'm fairly sure it's not April yet, which is good because I have things due on April 1st that I haven't done. So that's my life, and we're happy to have Reverend Misha Sanders here as a sort of guest host, joining us for our JETPIG Easter party. Misha is the minister of the Northwest UU congregation in Sandy Springs, Georgia. And how are you? And how are things down there in Georgia?
Hey, Michael and DC and Aisha, thank you for having me. Things are okay. You caught me eating Cheerios, but I don't plan to stop.
We would
Things
not
are
have
great. It is a beautiful sunny day here in Georgia. It is, I don't know, there's 60 something Fahrenheit out there, so I'm happy about that. And I'm preparing for, my mom is coming to visit me. She's never been down here before. She's spending Easter with me, so that's really, really exciting. So that's the next couple days here is getting ready for my mom's visit.
Wow. That's
Yay.
awesome. That's
Hello,
awesome.
Nicole
So,
from Oklahoma.
yeah, we've got people signing in. Nicole Spalding from Oklahoma has just checked in and said hi. And so this week, let's do the UU roundup first. What have we got going on? MFC is next week, so I am up to my nose in packet reading. I imagine Michael is too. Oh, today is Ask Day, Ask or Offer Day.
Say what that is, DC.
That is, this is the NFL draft part of the search process, which is sort of like Match.com meets NFL draft. So this is there's a lot of online clicking and liking of profiles and stuff. And then, you meet at Starbucks and you decide what, that kind of stuff. And then today is the day that congregations can make an offer to invite a person to be their candidate for settled ministry. And it is always fraught. Right now, it seems to be a seller's market, as it were. There are more people looking for ministers than there are ministers looking for places. Since COVID, people have become a little more geographically bound. And so it can be a tricky time. And so I just want to offer a prayer for all of those people who are ministers who are looking for a new place to be, and congregations that are looking for a new minister. And my prayer is that everybody gets their first choice, and that the contract is good. But
my prayer is that everyone gets a choice that is the right one for them, which might not be the one that they think is their first choice.
Good point.
Yes. Like in dating. We need to do a whole show. Like in dating. Maybe your first choice is not the best. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna bow out. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about successful dating, so it was nice seeing you all. I'm out.
Hey, Misha, same high five, my friend. I'm listening. That's another show, but yeah. So I have a question for the three of you because I have heard it told that the process, the way the UUA does it, is somewhat antiquated, and that there could be more, I don't know what the word is, helpful.
Antiquated? Really? On UUA?
Do I hear sarcasm, Reverend DC? Is that what I hear from your
Just a
voice?
little. Just a little. Go ahead. But
yeah, I mean, I wonder what would be a better process. I have not gone through that. I just apply for jobs and either get them or not. But this is a whole, like you said, like a whole swipe right, swipe left. Let's maybe go on a second date. But I hear that that's not necessarily the best.
yeah, it's one of those things, like democracy. It's the worst possible form of government except for all the others.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is probably the worst form of whatever you want to call it, except for the others, right?
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, it is clunky and it is stressful and it is all of those things. And my brain cannot imagine what a different process would look like that would work better. I'm sure there are brains out there that could do that, but mine isn't one of them.
Gotcha.
So,
well, someday, and today is not that day, I would love to come back and tell y'all about the time that one of the congregations that did not pick me, I was at a pre-candidating weekend and I got stuck in a bathroom at the hotel and missed an entire potluck evening because I was in the bathroom screaming and banging on the door. And eventually they had to come and take the screws out of the hinges and get anyway.
Who heard you? You got to tell a little more. Who heard you? Somebody walking down the hall? What?
Yep. Eventually it was someone walking down the hall that heard me screaming. Yes.
I just recently heard the opening of a Tig Notaro stand-up act.
Me too. I swear to you, Tig stole my story.
She got locked in the bathroom and was let out of the bathroom 20 minutes before the show started. And so
I heard that as well.
It was on her mind. When she got on the stage, she's like, I've just been locked in a bathroom for 45 minutes. And of course, she made it hilarious.
That's the entirety of my act. I was locked in the bathroom for 45 minutes. All of my jokes are gone because I have just been communing with the tub.
Yeah, that was the entirety of my pre-candidating sermon that next day too, and they didn't pick me. I can't imagine why.
Clearly, they did not appreciate your sense of humor, and that would not have been a good match right there.
No.
That's the sign. That's the sign.
Rejection is protection. Rejection is protection.
Right.
That's
right. Famous dating. So many parallels.
That's a whole word,
Right.
Aisha.
Right. Match.com meets NFL draft and today's draft day. So
Okay.
anyway, we have a great show today because there's this crazy thing that I'm not entirely sure I understand the origin of it. It's kind of muddled in my brain, and people keep saying a bunch of different names that won't stick in my brain, so I can't tell the original story of this thing. But there's this phenomenon called JETPIG in Unitarian Universalism, and it got hold of it. Well, somebody in Laredo got hold of it. And from thence it exploded into all sorts of creative mayhem and happiness and silliness. And so we've got a couple of people on today who have really taken this thing and run with it. And one is my friend and colleague, Sara Kelley, who is for full disclosure, Sara is the Director of Religious Education, or it's a big long name, Director of Growth and Learning. Is that right?
Religious Growth and Learning.
Right, all the words.
We've had it forever.
Yeah, and Sara is she's here with me in Northumberland, and she is, I'm looking now for the thing, fifth generation Unitarian Universalist, ministers and religious educators in their family history. She's been a member of this congregation, the UU congregation of the Susquehanna Valley, for 22 years, and it's part-time
DRE.
DRE, thank you, all the words, for like, what, 10 years or so? And then since I got here and am administratively challenged, Sara has picked up some extra hours to keep me from breaking the copier, mostly. And we had Elizabeth Mount, but Elizabeth seems to have disappeared and lost us, or we've lost Elizabeth.
And we hope to get Elizabeth back.
I think they're rejoining in a different platform that might work better, so we can see them.
So we'll pre-introduce them. They are the minister of the UU Church of Cheyenne, Wyoming, and will be joining us, we hope, with Jenkins J. Piglet.
Yes. So, Sara, you actually know a fair amount about the origin story of the JETPIG. Can you help us out, please? Elizabeth is here with Jenkins.
Yay!
And there's Joseph.
There's two of them.
Okay.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello. I'm so glad I have video now. I had video from me the whole time, but apparently that doesn't stream out.
Okay.
So Elizabeth might be able to help with this, but my understanding is that there were a couple of ministers at a UUMA retreat, Jen Raffensperger and Kate Walker, maybe, who were talking about how to teach the 6 proposed values, and played around with some acronyms and came up with JETPIG. And how it went from there to the religious educators, I am not sure, but you're right. It took off at that point.
Yeah.
But I want to give full credit to the origin that we've heard. Elizabeth, do you know anything else?
Well, so I heard about it from religious educators first, not via ministers. But I know JETPIG as like a concept, or JPiglet if you want to include love right in the center, already existed when Regina McConaughey made a poster of a Jenkins J. Piglet for our what was that? Laredo FalcCon last October. And we were figuring out just a lot of ways of teaching. I'd been using those pinwheels, the rainbow pinwheels, last spring before General Assembly, and then the Columbus, Ohio congregation took that and ran with it. And those just bloomed all over GA last year. Yeah, and I was like, well, here's this poster, but it's hard to unroll a poster and get people excited about it in the midst of a worship service. It's a little crinkly and flat and all of that. So I went online and I found this adorable little guy who has an aviator hat, and named him Jenkins and took a few pictures around my church, and then got really excited about it. I was like, here are the 15 pictures that I have taken all over my church. I've done nothing else today. If any other religious educators are excited about this, go for it. And he turned into a 3-dimensional phenomenon.
And so, for our viewers,
it was only the originator of the stuffed pig on Amazon part of this.
for our viewers out there, I just want to back up just three steps to make sure that everybody understands why these pigs are so fun and fabulous, and what they're meant to help people teach and learn. Right now, our Unitarian Universalist Association is in the middle of debating a proposed changed
I
Article
like
2.
discernment. It feels
Right?
friendlier, Michael.
We're discerning. We're discerning.
Right.
And a beautiful, wonderful commission has engaged thousands and thousands of Unitarian Universalists and hundreds of congregations in conversation about what is at the center of our faith, and has come up with a beautiful and faithful proposal that puts love in the center of six values, and each of those values is connected to a covenant of action that we are calling ourselves to do as Unitarian Universalists. I think it's gorgeous, and for since 1985, when our current principles were enacted, religious educators have tried to teach children about those principles and have had to come up with alternative language and like different ways, because the 7 principles are not super memorable in their the concepts are memorable, but the principles
Right.
themselves not super memorable. And so people came up with JETPIG or JPiglet as a device to help us remember justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. And the fact that that is stuck in my head tells you that, and I'm not like
It works.
the memorizing person, that it works. And all you need to do, and love is the L in Piglet. So if you want there to be 7 things, should either of the 2 proposed additions change, we're going to need a different device. But we'll worry about that.
We'll have to retire all the pigs.
Pigs are adaptable. But one of the things I really love about it is the fact that we can use the piglet, and ours is named Joseph, L, Piglet Joseph for Joseph Priestley, because of where we are, L for love. So that's how we took care of the L. Joseph lives the values and teaches us how to live them, which is part of the values that scares a lot of people, is the accountability piece. So if we can use the pig to show people how to do that, that really helps. So our pig has 6 backpacks, all different colors. And each one has the letter. So T this month is transformation, because that's the theme for Soul Matters, and we use Soul Matters here. So P for pluralism, equity, generosity, and the colors match the flower graphic as much as we can. Justice and interdependence. And each one of them has 2 love hearts. He carries love with him all the time, and he's powered by love. And we can change the backpacks and the fuel.
Nice.
But it's been really great. We can pose him in the library, reading books to talk about transformation. We can put him in, well, we did some of the same things that Elizabeth did. You put your pig in the offering basket for generosity. Or trying to think of some of the other ones we've done. But pluralism, we have a picture of Joseph in a mirror with other UUs to talk about how we let pigs in. Everybody can be welcome, even pigs.
We also
but it's been great for the adults.
Yeah. Well, Joseph's, what do you call it? Debutante ball or whatever it was. Joseph's introduction to our congregation was done the Sunday that Sophia Betancourt was here. So some of Joseph's first public photos were with the UUA president, who was absolutely smitten with our JETPIG. So yeah, and we didn't have really a Instagram account before this. We do now, and the pig is popular. Let me tell you what, Elizabeth, you've had that same thing happen, haven't you? What happened with you?
Yeah, our Facebook clicks and likes went up 400% as soon as Jenkins hit the scene. We have a new Instagram. It's j.piglet. And Jenkin comes to community office hours with me. He is, as much as adults are like, oh, that's for the kids, like the adults are delighted to see Jenkin. They're happy to see him at our Lectio Divina spiritual practice. I just left him in the sanctuary a couple days ago, and he got taken to an NA meeting. He went and was part of the drum circle. He went downstairs for religious education classes. It's amazing.
Nicole asked about the backpacks.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yes.
I have to say Amazon, much as I would love to be able to support local people,
Yeah.
but they're doll backpacks.
Yeah,
But
and
I
I'll
did-
just add, if you have anybody who used to play with American Girl dolls, a lot of the American Girl doll sized things fit nicely on a Jenkin J Piglet or any J Piglet that you might
And
have.
Elizabeth, you also used Jenkin J Piglet to ask questions of people to like help them.
Love that.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So that's part of what's been, I think, so powerful, especially on Facebook and social media, is that a lot of the time, especially on social media, we can get stuck in this idea that things are a fight or a debate. You can't debate a stuffed piglet. You sound silly. But you can have a
Right.
great conversation, and Jenkin is a curious piglet who would like to know things about your life, about your spiritual practice, about how you live your values in the world. So we would just post something Jenkin is up to and a little question about it. What do you like to do when you're feeling low energy? What's a spiritual practice that helps ground you? Jenkin is feeling ungrounded today. You know, whatever it is. And
Mrs. Cat is super curious about Jenkin and JETPIG.
Yep.
I have when pluralism came up for me, because it is Holy Thursday for those who are Christian, and Easter is this weekend, and this year Ramadan and Easter overlapped. Last year Passover, Ramadan, and Easter overlapped the previous 2 years in a row, which I think happens once every 30 years. So I think, Sarah, I heard you say, JETPIG accepts everyone or something like that. But I think, here's an opportunity for JETPIG to go a little deeper with the idea of pluralism. Because what came to my mind is, like, my mother I grew up Muslim, wouldn't even let us have stuffed pigs because Muslims are not allowed to eat pork. Neither are Jewish people. I was married to my ex-husband who's Jewish for 30 years. But we both ate pork because we weren't quite as observant as our families. But I wonder if there can be an opportunity to have a conversation about, the framework of pluralism that people have. I mean, this is it's a literal stuffed pig, but the symbolism of a pig, even in religion, I mean, you could kind of take it. I mean, yes, it's for kids, and there could be many layers to it. And, that's why I love religious educators, Loretta. We know how to just be super duper creative. And so that's what came up for me, because I'm like, my mom would never have let me. But I am now a Unitarian Universalist, so I can have as many pigs as I want.
Yeah, no, I definitely had a thought about that like a week or two after I got Jenkin from my Jewish heritage. I was like, I wonder. But I think when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, pigs are unclean to consume, but there's nothing in Torah that says you can't be friends with pigs. You just can't eat them.
Yeah.
And we don't eat our friends. That's not a
Try
thing
not to.
anyway.
You're totally
Theory,
right.
You see, I see all of your thoughts, and those are delightful owl thoughts that we can think later together.
I don't know what you're talking about, Elizabeth. I don't know. Not me. But
But you're totally
So,
right.
Reverend
It's about
Misha,
YouTube
is
for
this
adults.
the first time you've seen JETPIG? And I'm curious what your thoughts are about, and have you come across JETPIG in Georgia?
So no, it is not my first time seeing JETPIG. I love JETPIG. Have we used JETPIG yet in my congregation? No, we have not. For no good reason. I actually am really interested in listening to all of these ideas to start using JETPIG because I love it. I don't have a whole lot to say about it because I'm just kind of admiring the work that you all have been doing with JETPIG. It's not something that we've delved a whole lot into in my congregation. In Unitarian Universalism, there's a range of where congregations are with the Article 2 issues, not issues, but the facts of Article 2. And we happen to be a congregation that has a minister who is fully in support of the changes of Article 2. And but there's been a lot of debate. You used the right word for my congregation, Michael. There's been a lot of debate, and there are still some ongoing conversations to be had to get people hopefully more on board, or at least having the conversations. And I think JETPIG is a great way to do that. So thank you all for your hard work on that.
There are a lot of ways to do it too. I know we've seen people do 3D printed JETPIGs. We've had friends who have created giant wings because they want them to fly. I don't know if the when pigs fly, part of changing the bylaws is something you're thinking about. Drawings, people have used it in therapy. I like the way that it's teaching adults. You know, Michael, you had said something earlier about the principles being really hard for people to remember. If you ask anybody in this congregation, they would be able to sing you the song with the kids' versions, but they could not speak the other ones. So why not use something that the kids love as a way to engage the adults? And clearly they are, because none of my 6-year-olds are on our Instagram account that I know of.
Right.
So,
I love. Go ahead, Michael.
I just wanted to let people out there know that if your congregation is struggling with how to engage with the proposed changes to Article 2, I actually recorded a workshop for the Church of the Larger Fellowship. I'm offering it live 5 times, but I recorded the workshop, and if you have a good facilitator who can pause the workshop when I say pause the workshop to have a conversation and have a respectful conversation, you can actually get access to that workshop from CLF, and Lucretia has popped the link to get access to it into our chat on YouTube.
Michael, thank you for creating that, and thank you for the reminder. I saw it when you first posted it. We will absolutely be using that. Thank you.
And it's the workshops on the UUA website are wonderful and deep, and 8 hours worth of workshops. I did this one in 90 minutes, and you can make it 2 hours and have deeper conversation maybe, but it at least introduces people to the history and the changes and the proposal. So,
are you saying our people don't have a spare 8 hours in their days all the time?
I'm saying that scarcity culture teaches us that we don't have a spare 8 hours to engage with this. I don't
know. Listen, I don't know. If you're talking about we want to debate and hear what you have to say, I think they got 8 hours in them.
We do. I agree with Misha. I have been in the situation where people will beat a dead horse. And hopefully we will not be doing that to JETPIG, because it's a sweet, cute aviator glasses, little backpack. Hopefully it will appeal to, here. I just want to say something. I want to say something about, I don't know how many Unitarians could really name the fucking 7 principles. Let's be real. I was like inherent worth and dignity, interdependent web, and justice,
and a bunch of stuff in the middle,
blah, blah.
Right? That's right.
Yeah. And so like, come on, folks. And so this is, we are, you know, revelation is not sealed. We are a faith that does not mandate, oh my gosh, this is what you have to believe till you die, or else you're going to be, you know, in trouble by some deity. Like, that's not who we are. And so it's this is clearly like folks who are wanting to know they are still loved. So I'm going to tell you, you are still loved, whether or not we have principles with numbers on them, or we have JETPIG, or we have a heart, or beautiful images, or crochet, or whatever the fuck we do. We love you. You are loved just because you exist. So let's take it down all the notches, because we're in a fucking apocalypse. A bridge fell in Baltimore. We didn't even mention that because a barge hit it. What? So listen, let's come to love at the center. That is what the Michael has named the class, to talk about Article 2. Let's remember that, because truly, like, and I know the calmer faith leader that is somewhere inside me knows that folks are trying to cope in a scary world. Totally understand that. And the invitation here is to move towards community, move toward what does it look like to remain whole, even when we're scared, whole as a community, that turning on each other and thinking, I don't even know what the end game, like what, I mean, sometimes the curiosity I have is, what's the end game here that folks who are against, I don't know, like, I'm not saying that out of naivete. I'm just like, because that's what I say to folks, like, follow up when people have, you know, I've been accused of trying to take over church when I was a DRE. I'm like, okay, let's follow that logic. To do what? What am I going to do taking over a Unitarian Universalist church? Like, what? What's going to happen? I don't have an army.
Build a beloved community.
Say it again.
Sorry.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't, you see, you all get what I'm saying, right? Like, I don't understand. Yeah. Like, I do.
I'm going to make you be nice. Damn it.
I wish that any UU church was as easy as just doing that.
If we could do that, our budgets would be met. For God's sake. Jeez.
So can I make like a really dubious connection with this whole topic to Easter?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking of, so there's a story in the Christian tradition around the Easter story. It's a tangential story, but it applies, and it's about a couple of Jesus's disciples who, after his crucifixion, after they had already killed their highest hopes and fondest dreams, right? They killed the man that they thought was going to be their leader. These two beloveds were walking on the road to Emmaus, is what it says, and they're just talking about how awful it is that everything that they had hoped for had died, right? And the story is that at some point, Jesus, a resurrected Jesus, they don't know he's been resurrected yet, meets them on the road. He's still in his grave clothes. He's still beaten up. He is, you know, still in his mortal body, as before the transfiguration. So anyway, he's walking along with them, and these knuckleheads do not recognize who he is. And I will tell you that growing up hearing that story, that's where they lost me. They didn't lose me at like the resurrection. No, I believed that happened, right? That's what we were taught to believe. But I didn't know. I was like, well, if they were so broken up about losing this dear friend of theirs who they thought was going to save them, and then he shows up on the road right next to them and they don't recognize him, that's where they lost me in that story. But you know what? I have discovered that's the human part of the story that makes the most sense to me right now, right? Because when something or someone that I have deeply loved, my 7 Unitarian Universalist principles, which are what brought me to this faith, honest to God, that's the truth. I came here for the principles, right? If I think someone has killed the thing that was my fondest hope, you know, highest hope, fondest dream, and then I see somebody walking next to me on the road to anywhere but here, which is what Emmaus means, somewhere else. If someone shows up looking for all the world like they just walked out of a tomb and they're scarred and they're swollen and they're bruised and they're limping and they need a good bath, right? I'm not gonna necessarily recognize them because nobody expects a dead hope resurrection in the middle of when we're really angry because something that we love just got taken away from us, right? And so when some folks see JETPIG walking alongside them on the road saying, but look, it's still me. It's still me. The principles haven't gone anywhere. I'm still here. I'm just in a little bit of a different packaging. Can you look a little closer and listen a little harder? I don't know. That was a tangent, but it was just where my heart went. And I think that we've got to give folks a little bit of grace and realize that, yes, of course you don't recognize hope when it's walking along beside you because you thought hope got killed, right? Hope's not dead. It's right here. Anyway, that's my sermon for today.
Amen and Ashe. Thank you.
Shit, my Sunday sermon just went to hell.
This is why you shouldn't write it before Thursday.
Right? Jeez.
Good thing I haven't changed the sign out
that wants to order a service done early, so.
Not today. Not done yet. We're in good shape. But now I know what work are doing all afternoon.
Right? We got to redo everything, yes.
No, I'm actually using the JETPIG for Easter.
And what are you teaching? Can you say, or is it a surprise?
We are doing our Easter egg hunt this year. Every Easter egg that we've inherited matches the color of the 6 values. It's just easier. And then once you find one, you can match it to a prize that is related to the value. So I borrowed this idea from another DRE whose name, I'm sorry, I have written down, but I cannot remember off the top of my head. So for things like justice, we have a whole bunch of social justice buttons we want people to choose from and wear. Equity, what are we doing? Masks, because we still have people who need them. And so we want people to think about other people. I can't remember what they all are, but we are giving away then little tiny.
We have love ducks. We have love ducks.
Heart Valentine's duck as our love, and everybody will get to take one home.
Yes.
So it's kids and adults. We're going to make the adults before they can get coffee. They have to get eggs.
Yes. Yes, we have ducks. We have ducks and one pig. Because rubber ducks are fun. Well, we have the
they're like this big.
Yeah, but the baby rubber ducks, they're like teeny golf ball size.
Sweet.
Yes.
But like
So
these
it's just another way to
conversations
teach.
should be fun. Right? How do we live our values should be a wonderful conversation.
Yes.
It should be an inspiring conversation. It shouldn't be
100%.
It shouldn't be people screaming at each other. Like it shouldn't.
Well, that's a value, certainly.
Screaming.
Honestly, I love how exciting it is when we let the religious educators have some fun in our movement, because trust me, ministers, we get so wrapped around the axle trying to be earnest and important and deep and meaningful and all of this other stuff. And oh my goodness, we forget to be fun sometimes.
Right.
We forget to be fun. We become way too Calvinist in our enlightenment, you know,
Yes.
in our effort to be, in our perfectionist effort to be the perfect progressive person, right? And it becomes way more work than fun. And then we need, thank God for our religious educators who remind us how to play.
We learn through playing. My son my kids were born in New Jersey and went to preschool and a couple years in elementary school. And I remember the director, he was part of, both my children were part of a co-op preschool. And all they did was play. It wasn't even a Montessori school. It was just you go, you play. And because it was northern New Jersey, housewives of New Jersey came from somewhere, parents would complain that it wasn't academic enough. We're talking about 3-year-olds. Let's all take it down a notch. But one of the things she'd say to me, and I'd say to her, like, I'm so sorry you're getting this, weird pushback. I think, I just want my kids to play. She said, people forget we learn through play. And I don't think that ends at kindergarten. I think we learn through play because our defenses aren't up. I think there is a generosity of spirit when we're playing. I mean, here, I don't know when this started, but for me, I started doing it like in Seattle board game nights with grown ass adults. So, it's a lot of fun, and sometimes we learn something, sometimes we're just literally, but we do bond, and it creates play opens up opportunities for many, many other things that really, I think, also lets us be vulnerable in ways other things don't.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And like, there are scientific studies, if you're one of the science people, that like laughter reduces cortisol, it lowers your blood pressure. It does all of these things that actually let your neurology have the space it needs to grow new connections.
That's right.
So I have a theory like that just came to me.
Frankly, I'm in Wyoming. We're a very conservative area of the country. Very libertarian conservative, historically, not necessarily socially conservative. But we've got people moving into the state with this myth that they're going to create this homogenized Christian nationalist space. And really, the biggest tactic that's being used here is just make people scared or angry of the awful things that could happen. And then people are very willing to be restrictive to themselves, to others, to their own children. When we get scared about what could happen, we're not able to live into that idea of open-hearted, trusting, beloved community.
That's right.
And Misha, I'm thinking about your story, and I'm like, but what if Jesus didn't look like Jesus and still told them good news of hope? What if he actually didn't look like Jesus? It shouldn't matter, because if you are part of that open-hearted community, isn't that a community that believes each other?
Right.
And that's the part. It's the not being able to see the humanity in each other, not being able to believe each other, thinking that the fearful things are the only possibilities, instead of being willing to imagine what could be glorious and loving and playful and delightful. And that's what I want for church. I want this to be playful, delightful space, because a lot of our people don't get that other places.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I want to, so much of this is about this radical shift from extreme individualism to something that feels far less easy to control, which is community. Right? And when we ask people to do art, when we ask people to engage in different things, when we ask people to move their bodies, right, during worship, there are some that will always sort of resist that, in part because of the end around that it does to get to their brains and their hearts. Right? Our brains can protect our hearts from a lot of things that are scary. But when we sing, stuff gets in that we'd rather not have happen sometimes. We start to have feelings. And if we're in the old sort of humanist sort of intellectual, there is no God, there is no mystery, that kind of stuff, there is no wonder, then when you start to feel those things, you feel out of control. And so we're in the midst of this huge cultural shift from one to the other. And there are a lot of folks for whom this is incredibly uncomfortable. And uncomfortable translates into frightening. Trying to get adults to play, right? We learn through playing. We learn through moving our bodies. You know, in recovery circles, they say, you know, move a muscle, change a thought, right? When we get stuck on something emotionally, if we engage our bodies physically in whatever way that looks like for us, whether it's go for a walk or a swim or do yoga or whatever, but it's the integration of the physical with the spiritual and the intellectual. And I go back to Channing, that twisted bastard, who was afraid of his own body, right? Yeah. Channing is the one that really set the bar for Unitarians to experience church only from the neck up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And this other stuff, what we're doing is we're moving towards a more integrated, more holistic experience of spirituality that happens in community, you know, as opposed to Channing, who was as afraid of his own dick as St. Augustine was, right? Mm-hmm. Channing was a terrified, closeted gay man. Okay.
Yeah, I always wonder.
He slept in a garden shed on the bare ground to try and rid his body of impure thoughts. He wanted to get away, as far away from his own body as he could. And so he wrote all this heady stuff, which our people then adopted and said, this is awesome. And I was just like, this is fucked up. This is deeply problematic. Yes. You know, and we began to get frightened of anything that happened in our hearts or in our bodies. Mm-hmm. And children can show you that you have to use your whole body to know stuff, right? Yes. And it's once we get to be adults, we get really frightened of that stuff because it's not in our control. Mm-hmm. And now we as a denomination are moving from this wacko, uptight, neck up only experience of spirituality, which really looks like a peer-reviewed academic paper, right, into something that is centered in love. Oh, wait a minute. What the hell's that about? That's all squishy. I'm not sure I can do that, right? And in community where we understand and rely upon each other for love, for support, for learning, for accountability, what we're doing, we are truly turning a battleship, you know? Yeah. And it started, and we're not going to change it. We're not going to stop it. It started. It's going. And it's just, there are some of us that are along for the ride who are just terrified of the whole process. Elizabeth, you were I interrupted.
Go ahead. You're good. I was just gonna pick up that ball and run with it whenever you're ready to pass.
Then run, go.
Sports metaphor. Enjoy. But I was like, I think you really, really hit on something, because the thing that I get the most often, and it's especially in those services where people are a little uncomfortable because maybe I stirred their heart, but I hear that my sermons are not intellectual enough. And when I was very first starting in ministry, I was like, oh, cite more sources. And now I'm like, good, that's fine. Like, yes, sometimes your brain is what needs to be engaged, but sometimes Sometimes your feelings need to be engaged. Sometimes your spirit just needs to shine through. Sometimes we need to get up and move and engage your body. And that is wonderful. That's a well-rounded church. Not being intellectual when it means, oh no, you stirred my heart. I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. That's amazing.
Yes.
I want to back to that. Like, choose the wisdom of a child. Get a stuffed animal and use it to teach you how to live your values. And I just like, I keep coming back to, if intellectual is the thing we think we need to do, if I'm afraid as a preacher that I won't be taken seriously and that will impede people's path to God, then that's because we think God is serious and dour. And I
Yes.
don't want that to be the way the divine exists in the world, in our perception.
Ain't nobody needs that God.
No.
Nobody needs
Joy
that
and
God.
grace. That's the
Amen.
divine spirit I want moving through here.
You know, and we talk about like head and heart, but one of the things I love about the proposed changes to Article 2 is they ask us to embody these things too, right? It's all of who we are has to be engaged in living these values in the world, right? Repairing harm and damaged relationships is not just about engaging with head and heart. It's about acting differently, right? It's about transforming who we are because we've learned how to be better people, and then acting differently. So it's all of who we are. And I'm not going to preach that into a sermon. You know, it's interesting, Elizabeth. You mentioned citing more sources. Someone asked me recently how I cite things in written sermons, and my response was, "Am I supposed to write my sermons? And am I supposed to quote other people when I do that?"
Yep.
And they were like,
and like,
huh?
sometimes I do, but it's actually fine if I don't.
Right.
I can give you a stack of books which I found inspiring. I'm happy to give you a stack of books. I have so many books.
Yes.
But I'm not necessarily like highlighting and making a stack of note cards like I did in my like high school bibliographies.
So, beloved,
preaching.
we have like 3 minutes left. This hour has flown by like a JETPIG with a rocket-fueled backpack. I want to give our guests an opportunity to say anything they want to say. We have met the pig on the road to Emmaus, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, friendly pig. Sara, do you have anything you want to leave us with? Oh, you're muted for some reason. Sara, we can't hear you.
Sara, you're muted, hon. Sara, you're muted.
Sometimes the keystrokes work and sometimes they don't.
There we are. Okay.
Sorry. Just, find your own Piglet, your own way of teaching. But remember, I mean, I think you're right. It's the fun, the play. That is it's gonna get everybody engaged. It's kids, adults, teens. I mean, there are youth groups around the country now who are trying to write songs for the piglets, which I think is awesome.
There is one song. We should share it.
Yes.
Yes. The religious
Otto
in Malden wrote lyrics to a song, and their music director, Soren Ostenfeld, set it to music. And there's a YouTube video out there. I have a minute left to find it.
It's adorable. It's stinking adorable.
Best of luck. Yes.
Next.
Yeah,
Elizabeth
come visit
Mount.
our JETPIGs. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
do
look
a
for Jenkin
hashtag
Piglet.
do a hashtag search for JETPIG and buckle up. Up. Larry is giving us, looks like Larry has the link. He's going to post it.
I got it.
Excellent.
Michael's got it. All right. What a great, Elizabeth, any last thoughts before we bail?
I guess I just want to say, like, love at the center should be joyful. So I'm glad we're making room for love.
Powered by love. You bet.
Yes.
Love, not fossil fuels.
Thanks for having us.
So thank you, everybody. This has been a fantastic show. We are just about out of time, and we'll come back next week. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but it'll be exciting, I am sure. Thank you to Sara Kelley and Rev Elizabeth Mount and Misha Sanders' debut as a guest host. This was a lot of fun. Thank you all, and all the links and stuff will be on the on our page. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Special thanks to those of you who give generously to this ministry. It is because of you that this ministry is possible. You can click the link in the description to give now, or visit clfuu.org/give for more information. We hope you will join us next week for another episode of The VUU.